Yes, please do. And remember, excuse me, to stay near a microphone. If you need a handheld, that's fine too. Okay? We do. Deputy Lubinsky, will you provide Mr. Klaus with a handheld microphone, please? You may begin. Yes, sir.
Opposing counsel, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning. A German poet back during the French Revolution once said that murder begins when
Overruled.
Start again. A German poet back in the French Revolution once said that murder begins when self-defense ends. Murder begins when self-defense ends. Now, that was a simple sentence said many, many years ago, but that simple sentence perfectly encapsulates why this defendant right there, Travis Rudolph, is sitting in the chair that he's sitting in. The reason he's sitting in that chair is because just after midnight on April 7th, 2021, he took it upon himself to take out a semi-automatic rifle-like weapon, pursue 4 boys that were leaving the area of his home, and as those boys were trying to leave the situation that had occurred minutes before, this defendant used that weapon and fired 39 times. 39 times into the car that they were in that was trying to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, the facts and the evidence are going to be clear by the time you get back into that room that he was not on defense. He was on offense. He was not under attack. He was on the attack, and that's exactly why he's in that chair. Now, as you already know, we've talked about it a lot. My name is Richard Clausi, and along with my co-counsel, Ms. Adrienne Ellis, and Ms. Francine Edwards, we represent the state of Florida. And as has been discussed at length, and you all know already because we had many questions about it, we have the burden of proof. We have the burden of proof, this table right here. We have to prove to you beyond every reasonable doubt. We're going to keep bringing that up. Every reasonable doubt. Not possible doubts. Not speculative doubts. Not possible doubts, not imaginary doubts, not forced doubts, reasonable doubts about what happened that night. And we embrace that burden. We embrace it. And we intend on meeting that burden for all 4 charges that this defendant is presented with here today. You all know what those 4 charges are. First-degree murder with a firearm for an individual by the name of Sebastian. And 3 counts of attempted murder. 3 counts of attempted murder for Tyler Robinson, Christopher Lowe, Tyler Robinson, Christopher Lowe, and Keyshawn Jones. Okay? Now, what do we have to prove for that? Well, you're going to get jury instructions. Ms. Edwards has already talked about those jury instructions. I'm going to talk briefly about them again, but don't worry. You're going to get a packet like this when you go back into the jury. Okay? First-degree murder, what do we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt? Well, number 1, we have to prove that Sebastian G. Jock is dead.
Approach, please. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to stand up and stretch, and you remember to obey the 4 cardinal rules while you're doing that.
So as I was saying, what we have to prove is Sebastian G. Jock is dead. Number 2, we have to prove that the reason he's dead is him right there. the unlawful act, the criminal act of this defendant. And the third thing we have to prove is there premeditated killing of Sebastian, meaning he thought about it before he did it. He thought about it before he did it. It wasn't involuntary, it wasn't an accident, it was purposeful because he meant to do it. Now what you'll also see in the jury instructions is that we also have to prove what type of weapon he used, and in this case it's a firearm. You're going to learn all about that firearm during the course of this trial. Now when it comes to the 3 attempted first-degree murder counts, it's basically the same thing. We have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he tried to kill Tyler, Chris, and Keyshawn. And that the only reason they're not dead is because he failed or someone else intervened. And then again, with that count, he meant to try to kill those 3 boys. And we're confident we're going to be able to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as the judges mentioned, how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to bring in witnesses. We're going to bring in witnesses that know about what led up to this event and witnesses that came afterwards. Law enforcement, crime scene investigators, medical examiners, detectives, all of them that got involved after this defendant decided to take someone's life and almost take $3. So, we can't perfectly plan everything that happens in a trial. But what we can anticipate are the witnesses that are first going to testify and who comes afterwards. The first types of witnesses that you're going to hear from are people that know about why this occurred, how it occurred, what led up to it, and what happened that night outside of this defendant's home, where he lived with his mother and his older brother, at 550 Teak Drive. For example, one of the first witnesses you're going to hear from is Keyshawn Jones, one of the victims in this case. He's going to give you the backstory. Now it's not the time for me to give you the whole backstory. We're going to have plenty of days for you to listen to the actual people that can give you the backstory. But as a sum, in essence, what we're going to learn is that on April 6th, in the PM hours of that day, Keyshawn Jones learns from his sister.
Microphone.
Oh, my apologies.
Sorry. That works?
Right.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
Sounds good. That's all right. We're going to learn that she talks to Keyshawn, who's her brother, and she informs him of a domestic dispute that had just occurred between this defendant and her. We're going to learn that Dominique, his sister, had been in a relationship with this defendant for about close to a year. Now, you're going to learn the details of that domestic dispute. But needless to say, once Keyshawn, her brother, finds out about what happened between her and Travis Rudolph earlier in the day, he's upset. His sister's upset. And once he tells his friends what had occurred earlier in that day, they get upset. We're not going to hide it, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be able to see text messages and phone call logs and things like that. Dominique was upset with this defendant over what he did. Make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Keyshawn was upset about what happened. Make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when they were upset, they talked in a way that was threatening. You're going to see text messages where Dominique says, go shoot his shit up. You're going to see a text message from Deshaun where he's like, Travis is a dead man, walking. But this is all before they actually get to Travis's house. And ladies and gentlemen, actions speak louder than words. They truly do. We talked about it during jury selection. Sometimes people say things they don't mean. And what's important in this case is not what was said and done before, right around midnight. It's what did happen right around midnight when Keyshawn, Tyler, Chris, and Sebastian decide to go to the defendant's house to confront him about what had just taken place earlier in the day with Dominique. Now, you're not going to just have to rely on people getting up and testifying to that fact. Because what we're going to learn through the law enforcement officers that got involved after the shooting took place is they started getting as many surveillance videos as they could from around the neighborhood, from anywhere that might be able to pick up information about why this all took place. And what we're going to be able to see, ladies and gentlemen, is just after midnight on April 7th, 2021. right here is 550 T Drive. This is the home of the defendant where he lived with his mom and his older brother, his mother's house. We're going to learn that in a black Cadillac, those four boys get into the neighborhood, and they park the car approximately down here. They park it away from the home and the front door of this defendant. You're going to be able to see surveillance video. This house right down here had multiple cameras, and you're going to literally be able to see the car parked here. All of them get out of the car, all of them put stuff in their trunk, and all of them start walking in the direction of this house, which, from where they parked, is approximately 300 feet away, 100 yards away. Now, you're also, through the benefit of a Ring doorbell camera that was installed on 550 T Drive, you're going to be able to see video of those four boys coming up to the door knocking and saying, hey, we got to talk to Travis out here about what happened. You're going to be able to see that. What you're not going to see, what you are not going to see, is a gun in any of their hands. You're not going to see that on that videotape, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we are going to be up front. There was one person out of those four that brought a handgun with him, and that was Tyler Robinson. But the facts and the evidence by the conclusion of this trial, ladies and gentlemen, are going to show beyond a reasonable doubt he never pulled it out. He never pulled it out. You're going to be able to see it on that Ring doorbell video when they first come. Now, what else are we going to learn when they decide to go and have a conversation about what took place with their sister and their friend earlier in the day? They asked for Travis to come out, and what we're going to learn is he didn't stay inside his house. He didn't call cops, didn't say get lost. He decided to come out and have that conversation with those four boys outside. He decided that. Now, unfortunately, the way these Ring cameras work, we're not going to be able to see the fist fight that takes place out in the lawn. But what the witnesses are going to be able to tell you is, it started as a verbal altercation, and he started the physical fight outside. He did. He started it. You're going to hear that a fist fight takes place outside. You got some people punching over here, some people punching over here for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Then it dies down, but everybody's still angry. Then a fist fight starts again. But ultimately, the proverbial bell rings. And you then will be able to see, when the Ring camera video starts back up, what happens. You're going to see that that bell rang, that the fight was over, that any imminent threat. Remember that word, ladies and gentlemen. Imminent threat of either death or great bodily harm, that time was over. The fight was over. You're going to see on the video, those four boys are leaving. They are leaving. They are walking back to the car they parked 300 feet away from his house. Walking this way, all the way down. Are we going to learn that the defendant stayed in his yard? Are we going to learn that the defendant went back into his house? Are we going to learn the defendant grabbed his mother and brought her in the house? No. What we're going to learn is this defendant pursues them that entire 300 feet all the way down to their car. All the way. What we're also going to learn is, during that fist fight, nary a shot fired. No shots were fired during that fist fight. No shots were fired as the defendant is following them with a semi-automatic rifle-like gun as they're trying to get back to their car. And what you're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to the surveillance cameras down at this house, is what happens when they get to the car. You are going to be able to see that they all get in the car starts to back up and head out of the neighborhood this way. The reason for that is, and you're going to be able to see, the defendant is on this side of the road. They are backing up to leave and escape the man that's carrying the semi-automatic rifle-like weapon. Then what you're going to see are muzzle shots, muzzle flashes from this defendant's gun as he shoots 39 times into the passenger side of that car when they're inside. 39 times. What you're not going to see on that video is a single muzzle flash from anyone else. From anyone else. The only person that shot a weapon that day at anybody was him, and when he did it, he had no legal justification to do so. And that's going to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, ladies and gentlemen. Once you've had a chance to watch all of those videotapes, listen to the testimony, see the reactions of people like his mother and his brother, while all of this is going on, it's going to be clear that those 4 boys did not threaten with a gun. He threatened with a gun and ultimately fired it, killing Sebastian and almost killing 3 other people. That's the story. Now, there's more story, obviously, afterwards. What happened afterwards? We're going to learn from law enforcement officers that respond to the 911 call made by Keyshawn. We're going to see where they responded to. There are going to be some officers, obviously, that respond right to this area. Crime scene investigators. That their responsibility, lock down the crime scene, look for evidence, gather evidence, and have it here for us today or throughout the course of the trial. You're going to be able to see all of that. You're going to be able to hear from the crime scene investigators every single casing they collected, bullet casing, from this area right here. All 39 casings belong to his gun. Not one casing belonged to a different gun. Not one. Not one. You're going to be able to hear from the law enforcement officers that eventually catch up or find the black Cadillac. That at the time when they find it, the car made its way down to about 40th and Broadway until it gave out. One of those bullets shot the oil canister in the car and made it as far as it could go, died out. You're going to be able to see the body-worn camera of when that first officer finds Keyshawn and Chris standing outside of that car. You're going to be able to see body-worn camera of Sebastian. That by the time, even after the short period of 10 to 15 minutes, you'll hear from medics as well, Sebastian was gone. Shot multiple times. And you're going to be able to hear from the medical examiner that'll tell you every single injury that he sustained at the hands of that man and his gun. You're going to be able to see the detectives that went around, got the Ring doorbell camera, got the surveillance camera, got surveillance camera from just on the local roads to pick up where the car stopped and where it finished. You're going to see all the hard work that these detectives did to try to figure out what happened on April 7, 2021. And what happened on April 7, 2021 is that this defendant, not out of self-defense, not out of defense of others, but out of anger and feeling disrespected, decided to take it out on 4 people. Almost killing 3 people and killing 1. And ladies and gentlemen, when you decide to do that out of anger and disrespect, the facts, the evidence, and the law say that isn't a reason to kill somebody or try to kill them. It is just not. So, by the conclusion of this trial, ladies and gentlemen, what we're asking for you to do now, open mind, like we talked about. Keep us to our burden, and just don't make any conclusions until you've had a chance to hear each and everything about this case. Because we're confident when you do that, when you've had a chance to factor in everything, the videos, the photographs, the testimony, the evidence that comes in, and your own common sense, you will come to the reasonable conclusion that on April 7th, 2021, this man had no legal justification to do what he did. He did it out of anger. And when you kill someone out of anger, it's not that you're not guilty, you're guilty of these crimes. And that's what we're going to be asking you to do. When you go back in that jury room, you're going to get a verdict with 4 counts on it. First-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. We're going to be asking you to check the boxes that say guilty as charged, because that's exactly what he is. Murder begins when self-defense ends. That's why he's guilty of these crimes, and that's why we're asking you to find him as such, and we're confident that you will do so. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.